Hello viewers, welcome to Pragya, the purest form of understanding. In this video, we are going to discuss about the basic interview coding questions in C programming. So here are some questions in the asked previous interview. So let's move on to the first question. Can you print your name without using a semicolon? So let's see whether it is possible to write a code without using a semicolon or not. Let's give our channel name Pragya to print here. So let us remove the semicolon and just have it right. Now let's run this code. So it is asking that expected semicolon has missed before the token. So let us give if statement here. Now let's run the code. So it has printed Pragya over here. So we can print the name of any another name without using a semicolon over here. We can also use the switch case in the place of if here. Again, now let's run the code. So it's printed Pragya here again. We can also do this using a for loop, while loop, sorry. So again, it has printed Pragya over here. So we can print our name or any other thing without using a semicolon in the C programming. Let's move on to the other question. So moving on to the second question, can you run a code without using a main function? Generally, we use main function in every C programming because the program itself starts from the main function. So here the interviewer is asking about without using a main function, can you write any code? So let's check into this. So generally we use main function to write a simple program that is to print a single name. But here it is asking to not use main function here. So let's give another function called something like fun function. Let's save the code and run now. So it has set some enter like return one exit status. That means it is not finding the primary of the function here. So that is why we can use another function called hash define start main. Instead of using main function, we can give our header file like this. Now you can use start function here instead of writing main. Now let's run and check the code. So it is printed Pragya here. So we can write a code without using main function by simply defining the main before writing that main function. Okay. Now moving on to the next question. So moving on to the next question, explain the recursion with an example. So let's see what is recursion along with that example. So what is recursion? So the process where a function calling a copy of itself is called as a recursive function. And also such calls are called as recursive calls. Let's have a deep understanding about this with an example. Let's consider the factorial of a number here. So if we take an example as a 5, so what is the factorial of 5 here? It is 120. So how we get the number starting from 1 should be multiplied with its successive number, and thereby the resultant will be again multiplied with that successive number. We can do this by using a for loop or while loop, but it much very complex. So we can use the recursive method in order to avoid that complexity. So let's do the code. Let's take a function called factorial, that is fact. Let's take a variable as an argument. So I have declared as int. Let's take a number. Let us ask the user to print the number. So let us call that function here. Let's take that resultant into a variable called f. So let's initialize that here. Now let's write the logic in this factorial function. If the number given by the user is equals to 0, then the answer must be 0. So let's return 0 here. If the number entered by the user is 1, then the result must also be 1. So let's return 1. Other than the case of 0 and 1, it must print the actual factorial result. So let's call, let's recursive. Let's do this function like this. So the number must be multiplied by its successive number. So let's call the function again and again. So now let's run the code. So it is asking the user to enter the number to be calculated. Let's take 5. So the factorial of that number is 120. So let's move to the next question. So moving on to the next question. Can you explain the difference between while and do while loops? So let's have the deep understanding about this using an example. Let us first explain what is a do while loop is. So let's write a simple code for while loop. Let's take a variable I. So here we have done a simple code to print welcome to Pragya just using a for loop. So let's run the code. So it has printed welcome to Pragya 10 times. So let's go to the do while loop and how it works. Let's run the same code, but we have using do while loop here. Let's open the do loop and we have given a statement to be printed using printf statement. Now we have given that while loop with a condition. We have taken m as an input here. Okay, let's save and run the code. So it has printed welcome to Pragya 10 times here also. So let's see the difference between these two. So here in the while loop, we have given the condition inside the while loop and also a block of statements to print. Here in this do while loop, we have done the same, but before giving the while loop, we have given do loop here. So after printing the block of statements in the do loop, then the cursor will move on to the while condition. So Here the statements will be printed before moving to the condition. In this do loop, after checking the condition itself, the statements will be executed and printed. So that's the difference between these two. Thank you for watching our Pragya channel. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Please leave us your comments.